I've been hiding something from you for over a year. In this fish room, there used to be 34 tanks full of fish and plants. Now, due to my health declining, there are less than 10. Now, I found the fish good homes and consolidated many of the tanks, but as my health declined, I felt ashamed of what I can manage, and I want to talk to you about all that today.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to FISHTORY. I'm Alexander Williamson, your host as always, and today I want to talk to you about something deeply personal that you may not have known was going on the last year. I didn't even know some of it was going on the last year. You may know that a year ago, as of August, so almost a year and a half ago, I was in the hospital fighting for my life. And I had an infection from stepping on a piece of glass. I have an autoimmune condition called lupus, where my immune system sometimes either attacks itself from my connective tissue in my skin to sometimes when I have an infection, I just don't have the energy to fight back. Or even more confoundingly, sometimes my body attacks its own attempt at saving itself. So things like inflammation compound and I end up almost not making it. So as I speak to you today, I literally come to you out of the last year spent in a wheelchair, in what I'm wearing right now, a cast on one leg and a soft cast, hard cast on one leg and a soft cast on the other. I'm walking around again, but I've been using things like a walker. I've been using things like the knee scooter and the wheelchair, and sometimes I just stay in bed. And I have gone in the last 16 or 17 months from 34 or 5 aquariums in this house to now around 12. And I need to talk to you about the direction of this channel. It's not all doom and gloom, and this isn't all about my health, I promise. And first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to keep the lights on, for allowing me to continue to care for the tanks that I have. These two, I actually spend about half my time on now in caring for. The doctors have told me I shouldn't lift more than 5 or 10 pounds ever, basically. And we'll see how that unfolds as I continue to gain my strength back. But as the day gets later, many of you know that I was also struck by lightning 7 years ago, almost 8. And that has had another profound impact, from breaking 2 vertebrae and herniating several discs in my back to also severe brain injuries, both in my frontal lobe and in the back of my head. There were brain bleeds. Now, granted, I do okay most of the time. Other times, I have had something called petit mal seizures, and I have trouble staying awake. And I actually look like someone who has become drunken or who's been up for days. And it comes on slowly in an hour or two, but it's incapacitating, and I can't do research for the channel. I can't have fun. I can't chat with my wife. I have to lay down and I have to rest for a few hours. And inevitably, I wake up, whenever that may be, 3 in the morning, and then I'm able to function again for 4, 5, 6, 8 hours, but usually not more than 8. And that has really changed the channel, as well as the limitations with my ability to walk and to lift things and just how I feel. It has really changed the care of my aquariums. And if you know this channel well, you know that I have loved teaching you guys and learning with you guys about keeping a low-tech aquarium, keeping an affordable aquarium, little tricks where you don't have to spend money and you can let nature do the work. You can do less water changes by having more plants. You can have extra filtration buffers other than your electric or mechanical filter by having anoxic soil beds in the long run. Not saying that that's going to cycle everything for you, but that's a whole big topic for another time, you guys. And these topics, I really focused on the low tech and the kind of nature tank spawning, breeding, what fish are doing in the wild for a lot of the last 5, 6, even 7 years. And this channel's been going on almost 10 years in some form. And it's been a organized and full-time thing for at least 7 years of my life now. And I feel like it's a kid that's grown up alongside me, and it changes and it grows and it teaches me things, and you guys teach me things. And I have such gratitude because a lot of you who don't catch the live streams don't know things like the fact that my wife and I can't have kids. You know, my cat, Sumi, my tanks, my plants, my wife, my parents while they're still here, you know, my friends, and you know, nature. Those are the things I care about and I nurture and I hope to leave on in a positive light. And now I think of my life as trying to spread knowledge and wonder about the natural world. And I don't worry if I accomplish anything or get a fish named after me, so to speak. But boy, I would love to encourage some kid or some 50-year-old to go become an ichthyologist and to figure that out, or to research the next new cancer medication that's going to be found in a coral reef, or maybe in the venom of a rockfish, or you know, whatever it may be. The connections in our scientific and complex world, they fill me with wonder and they keep me going. And I have some really exciting news, two pieces of really exciting news, but it's going to change some things in the channel for a while. And I want to let you know, and I want to get your feedback. So any and all of this, let me know what you think, because you guys are the ones who kept the lights on, who kept me going, who allowed this channel to become a full-time endeavor. And I can never thank you enough for that support from you members, from you Patreon supporters, PayPal supporters, just from you guys watching videos. Even if it's just checking when you don't get an alert, but did Alex post this week? Because lately, I've only been posting about one video a week, and I've only been live streaming an average of 1.7 days a week. And usually it's Tuesdays and Friday at 4:30 Pacific time, but lately it's been Wednesday or Saturday sometimes, or not even at all. And it's because I'm really struggling. And in that same vein, I have the news that I was granted financial assistance over my medical care related to my whole 2025 care so far. So that's over $28,000 out of pocket that was going to add up when I started getting all the bills. I didn't even know how much I actually owed. They said $17,000 or $18,000 out of pocket, but I hadn't even processed 4 months of bills that insurance hadn't gone through yet. And so when I found that out, and that they were going to try to make it right and get me right again because they felt as though they had a better team of doctors within their facility that could do so, it brought so much joy and energy back into my heart. So between that, between the fact that I do feel like I'm getting stronger and better, I do want to travel again, even though I haven't traveled in a year and a half. I haven't even finished. 2 years ago, I was ready for new teeth, and then our roof leaked, and then I had another $15,000 in medical bills. I'm not trying to bore you with money and health things. I'm just letting you know life can beat you down and it can get you sidetracked. And this hobby, these creatures, these plants, the amazing interconnected biology of the planet, the universe, our human mind and our human experience and body, that wonder, that knowledge, that meaning and thinking about those things has kept me going. It is what keeps me going, and it means so much to me that so many of you come along for the journey and share what you know or what you're learning or what you're excited about, and I hope you will continue to do this. Because what this allows me to do now is, instead of just turning off all the lights in the fish room and turning it down to maybe 8 or 9 tanks of breeding fish that I like, but not making them at all pretty or nice to look at, but just having them healthy for the fish and kind of like a fish store, that is the state that it would have to be to continue in the fish room. And I have not even been able to keep it up that much lately. And that was really hard to swallow. And I was thinking, what am I going to show my viewers on this channel? Well, now I have rallied my affiliates from Aquatic Arts to Moonlight Aquatics, and now AFA and ADA. I'm proud to announce that with AFA out of San Francisco, the first aquascaping shop in all of North America, all of the United States, back in right after the turn of the last millennium, 2003 and 4, they opened with the Takashi Amano style rimless CO2, the thin lights, the beauty, the interior design. And at one point I used to think, you know, it's frivolous or it's too much for me. Like it's just, I don't have that kind of money to buy those things, or it's unnecessary. And I'm going to try to grow things in the dollar per gallon tanks, and I'm going to try to get fish that I can breed and I can flip and then I can make my money. And I've shown these things on the channel. And now that I don't have this debt hanging over my head that I was really had no idea how it would ever pay off at the rate things are going, I feel like the fact that then I team up with these guys and they are going to send me all the gear that they make from AFA, Archaea, and ADA to build a 2 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, about 16 gallon aquarium. It's the 60p ADA aquarium. And we're going to play with CO2. We're going to try out new plants that are brand new to the hobby, that are brand new to science. We're going to try all new systems of CO2 and glassware and how to set that up and what that looks like and what the filtration systems look like, how CO2 interacts with the biology of the tank, all this kind of stuff. And I have videos on how to do DIY CO2. I have videos on CO2 in general and plants using it versus not using it, high light versus low light. And something I realized is I still will always love building an aquarium with what you've got for as little money as you can spend and making it life grow from there. You are the watchmaker and you set up the watch, you put all these delicate gears into place and you set it in motion and you watch it tick and do its thing and evolve and unfold. And I love that. And they said, we still like that energy and that style, but like, what would you do artistically if we gave you the ADA setup? What could you do there, you know, from the mindset of someone who doesn't usually work like that? And the funny part is, 10 years ago, when I first got truly obsessed with the entire fish keeping hobby, meaning planted freshwater tanks. Before, I bred guppies and I bred bettas and I kept a community tank or two here and there, off and on. And that's kind of the sum of things. 30 years of that, but it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago that I first truly saw Amano aquascapes and what they look like and the beauty of a truly planted tank, a carpeted tank, the amazing colors. And yeah, these aren't super high-tech tanks behind me either. So I feel like I've shown you guys biotope tanks, I've shown you filterless with no mechanical filtration at all. I've shown you deep substrate, shallow substrate, and now I want to show you what design and luxury and basically the Rolex or Ferrari of the aquarium world, what that looks like. And we'll do a playlist introducing you to that because I've realized the money that I could spend on 10 or 15 tanks plus all the fish in them, if you can keep a fish room, perhaps you'd rather keep 2 or 3 really beautiful tanks. And if the style speaks to you of that kind of industrial design with interior design and the, you know, beautiful glass being seamless and the idea of not having a separation of rims and of things between you and nature, and growing the plants to their brightest colors, their brightest reds and purples, not necessarily getting them the way they look in nature, but literally the apex of their biological abilities. That is kind of the domain of the aquascaper. It is an art form and it is a science. And it's something that we haven't truly explored here other than the artistic ideas around it when I was working at a aquascaping store called Aquarium Zen in Seattle. So I hope you guys will join me at least for probably 7 or 8 videos where we're going to set up this 60p aquarium aquascape. We're going to set it up using the things that they design and create specifically for this, you know, bubble counters and lily pipes and things that I really don't know much about myself, but we're going to learn together. And if you're somebody who would rather trade your time or the money you'd spend on 5 or 6 tanks, you just don't have the time for, and you'd rather focus that with, you know, 1 hour of upkeep, my goal is to make an aquascape that looks cool, that pushes those limits of the biology of the plants and utilizing the technology of the aquascaping medias and materials, but also something that you guys could create something similar to it on your own if you wanted to in your first go. So we're gonna do kind of a, like, how you set up the filter, how you set up this, because I literally would have no idea the right way to do some of those things. and I would probably make a fool of myself. Or how much light to have on a tank like that when you've got a high point versus a carpet. What do? What are the tricks? A lot of those aquascapes are not grown for the life of the tank. It's not to look at every day. It's a project that they are building and working on, and they may have 3 or 4 lights that are very spotlight oriented, and they stay away from the big rock in the center because it would just turn into an algae fest. And at the end, they may add, sparkling water to the thing to make it look like all the plants are are purling better. That was an old Amano trick for a quick picture, is he put fizzy water in with CO2, carbonated water, just to get those little bubbles on all the plants, right? Or you can do a big water change to get that sometimes too. And so it's these little tricks and these realizations that the art form of aquascaping for the long haul and with a truly natural tank to see the peak performance of the plants with the fish and the shrimp and things is something quite different than making a mini diorama of mountains or a bonsai tree or something that is for viewing in one perspective after you give it the perfect haircut and you use tweezers to move everything just right. That's not what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a more long-term sustainable approach to this to show you how I am going to try for a while to still fulfill that place in my heart that wants to interact with aquaria. I'm still going to breed some fish that I love and grow plants that I love and things in the other room. I'm still going to keep community tanks that are mid-tech or low-tech, if you want to call them that, non-CO2 and things. But also I want to show you what the latest and greatest, if you want to call it, is. And we'll talk about if it's worth it. To some, it might not be, but I'll tell you the honest truth about what I think about it. And some aquarists have been working for years and years, and they're just burnt out on the other aspects of the hobby, and they want to condense what they've learned and done into one beautiful Tanganyikan community tank, or a biotope tank, or an aquascape that's in a beautiful tank with the high-tech gear that's kind of tucked away. So we're going to continue to explore all of this together, and please let me know what you're thinking, what you want to learn about, and I hope to continue to pepper everything else in there and continue to pick up the rate and pace at which I'm creating content as I can and feel better. But again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. My wife, my family, my friends, and I, thank you. You guys are my social life. You guys are my friends. You guys are my mentors. Entering the end of one decade and starting another, who knows where we'll go next. But I'm excited and I'm optimistic. Thank you again. And I'll see you guys soon.